Come a little closer, friend, not with your feet, not with your effort, just with your attention. The way you might lean toward a small lamp when the rest of the room is dark. You do not have to fix anything tonight. You do not have to be impressive, or brave, or even especially hopeful. You only have to be here, the way you are. Let the day remain outside the room, like shoes placed neatly at the door. If the mind keeps trying to follow you in, that's all right. We can be patient with it, like we would be with a tired child who doesn't know it's time to rest. Now, without doing anything fancy, just notice how your body is meeting the bed. Notice the weight, the quiet pressure, the simple fact of being held. Let your jaw loosen a little, as if it has been carrying a secret for hours, and now it can finally stop. Let your shoulders drop, not all at once, just enough to feel the difference between holding and releasing. Let your hands unclench and rest as they choose to rest, open or curled, warm or cool. Let your eyes grow heavy, as if the lids are gentle curtains, and the stage can close for the night. And let your breath smooth itself out, the way a lake settles when the wind gets tired. There is nothing to manage. Just feel, just soften, just allow. If a thought comes, it can pass through like a quiet car, far away on a late road. If a worry appears, you don't have to wrestle it. You can simply let it sit for a moment, like a bag set down by the door. You have carried a lot today. Work that asks for your attention again and again. Family needs, messages, errands, small decisions that didn't feel small after the 10th one. Money questions, timing questions, the invisible pressure of responsibilities that don't announce themselves, but still take up space in your chest. And even if the day looked ordinary from the outside, inside it may have felt crowded, like a room with too many chairs. So here, we make room. We dim the lights. We let the dust settle in the jar, slowly, without shaking it again to check. We let the door close softly, not as a declaration, not as a victory, just as a simple kindness. In this quiet, you can feel something gentle that doesn't need to be named, a way of not gripping so tightly, a willingness to loosen the fingers around what cannot be held forever, a soft respect for how everything changes, how even a hard day becomes a memory, and even a sharp thought can dull if we stop pressing on it. And if you notice places where you've been harsh with yourself, you can ease your tone. Just a little, as if you're speaking to someone you care about, as if you're laying a small blanket over a part of you that's been cold all day. We don't have to argue with the past tonight. We don't have to chase the future. We can practice gentle effort, the kind that feels like turning down a lamp, one small click at a time. Some of you came carrying a conversation you replayed too many times. Someone here may be holding a decision that still doesn't feel clear. I've heard this question many evenings, whispered in different voices, in different rooms. Why can't my mind stop walking in circles when my body is so tired? And I want you to know, you're not strange for that. You're human. You're living in a world that asks for speed, and you're trying to find a slower rhythm again. If this helps you rest, you're welcome to subscribe, so you can return whenever the night feels long. And if you'd like, leave a small comment, just a 1 if it helped, or a 2 if it didn't, so I can better keep you company. Now, settle in. Let the room be quiet around you. And let me begin with the first story. A simple old tale about a cup and a mind that finally makes space. Ban Danoi body script input prompt English. You are a warm, wise, elderly Buddhist storyteller with a calm, steady bedtime voice. You speak to an American audience aged 30 plus who feel stressed, overworked, and prone to overthinking. Your tone is gentle, compassionate, and conversational, like a trusted friend helping them unwind. Use simple, natural American English with short paragraphs, 1-3 sentences suitable for voiceover. Task: write 10 continuous stories in one output, story 0, 1, story 10, in perfect order. When I later say write the next 10 stories. No duplicates. You must continue automatically with story 11, story 20, then 2, 1, 3, 0, and so on, never skipping, never reordering, never repeating. Non-negotiable rule: no fabrication, no distortion, use only widely recognized, culturally preserved Buddhist stories about the Buddha teaching others, suttas-based episodes, well-known traditional stories, widely transmitted accounts. Do not invent famous stories. Do not create new plot events. And do not put made-up quotes into the Buddha's mouth. You may retell in your own words and add gentle sensory atmosphere for comfort. But you must keep the core events and meaning faithful. Required theme and listener insights must be felt in every story. Each story must connect to real adult life, challenges, work pressure, burnout, deadlines, inbox anxiety, family responsibility, relationship tension, parenting fatigue, money worries, uncertainty, regret, rumination, anger, jealousy, shame, perfectionism, control. You must speak with empathy and soothe the listener without preaching. Stories must be Buddha teaching episodes. Prefer stories where the Buddha speaks to monks, nuns, householders, kings, or ordinary people. Someone brings a problem or question. The Buddha responds with a teaching, analogy, or gentle guidance. The person's mind softens or shifts. Quality outline: follow this flow inside each story. But do not use headings. Each story must naturally flow through these beats. Soft scene plus arrival, calm, atmosphere, where the Buddha is, a quiet sense of presence, the human struggle, a character's stress, fear, anger, clinging, grief, confusion, clear and relatable. The Buddha's response, faithful teaching, no fake quotes, simple analogies, moment of easing the person's shift, steadier breath, softer mind, gentle. Talk to the listener like a caring conversation. You might notice. Maybe you felt this life lesson. Distilled, 1, 2, short sentences, memorable, practical 1, 3-minute, practice, 1, simple exercise to reduce stress, breath, hand on heart, 1-line journaling, noticing, keep the voice slow, humane, and reassuring. If you understand, reply only okay. ChatGPT Danoi okay. Ban Danoi continue, write stories 1 to 10, English. Each story is 17 to 20 lines long. Write without entries or notes to read aloud. ChatGPT, Danoi story 1 inch, the evening air at Jetavana. Lamps were being lit one by one. The Buddha sat quietly, while people arrived in a slow, respectful line. A young mother named Kisa Gotami came forward. holding her little child. Her face was tight with disbelief, like a door that would not close. She begged for medicine, certain someone could fix what had happened. The Buddha listened, steady and kind, and did not turn away. He asked her to bring mustard seed from a house where no one had died. She went from door to door, clutching that small hope like a thread. Each home could offer seed, and each home also carried a loss, a grandfather, a sister, a child, a friend, a long-ago parent. By nightfall, her steps slowed, and her hands loosened. She returned, not with seed, but with a new, quiet knowing. The Buddha guided her toward the truth that nothing we love stays untouched by change. Her breath softened, and she stopped fighting the shape of life. Maybe you know this feeling, begging the world to give you before again. Tonight, let your heart be held, without having to win an argument with reality. Lesson: what changes is not cruel. It is simply changing. Practice. Place a hand on your chest. Inhale gently and whisper, "This too can be met." Then exhale and let your shoulders drop. Story 02. On a warm day by the road, people spoke in fearful voices about Angulimala. He was known as a violent man, and travelers avoided the path. The Buddha walked there anyway. With an unhurried, grounded step, Angulimala saw him and ran, certain he could catch him quickly. Yet the Buddha kept walking, and somehow the distance would not close. Out of breath, Angulimala shouted for him to stop. The Buddha calmly pointed to what was already true. He had stopped. Inside, Angulimala felt something crack open, like hard ice under sun. He saw the years of chasing, the hunger, the endless proving, right there. His mind turned, and the violence began to lose its grip. He asked for a way out, not a way to win. The Buddha welcomed him into training, into restraint, into a different life. Even later, when others threw stones, he bore it as the echo of old deeds. He learned to stand steady without striking back. You might know that in a sprint, always chasing the next task, the next approval. Tonight, notice how tiring it is to run while calling it necessary. Lesson: the deepest stopping is inside your own hands and heart. Practice. Let your hands rest open, palms up, and ask, what am I chasing right now? Exhale and release one small thing. Story 3 inches, the monastery. A woman named Patakara arrived like a storm. Her hair was wild, her eyes wide, her world broken open. She had lost family after family, one after another, until she could barely speak. People tried to keep her away, unsure what to do with so much pain. The Buddha allowed her to come close, as if making a safe seat for her mind. When she stood before him, something in his presence steadied her. As she listened, her breathing slowed, like rain easing into mist. He guided her towards seeing life's fragile nature, without cruelty, without blame. In time, she found enough composure to care for herself again. She later trained deeply, learning to hold experience without being crushed by it. The shift was not sudden happiness, but a steadier ground under her feet. If you've carried heavy news, or a quiet heartbreak you don't mention much, I understand. Some nights it returns, right when you lie down, like a wave you didn't invite. Let tonight be gentler than that wave, You do not have to force your mind to be fine. You only have to stop abandoning yourself. Lesson A. Shaken life can still learn steadiness. One breath at a time. Practice. Put one hand on your belly, one on your heart, and say softly, here. 2. With each exhale for 1 minute. Story 04. One afternoon, a monk named Malu Ankyaputta sat tangled in questions. He wanted clear answers about the universe, the soul, the beginning, the end. His mind tightened around it, like a knot pulled too hard. He went to the Buddha, ready to leave if he didn't get what he demanded. The Buddha responded with a story of a man struck by an arrow. The wounded man refuses help until he knows every detail about the shooter and bow. Meanwhile, the arrow remains in his body, and time keeps passing. The Buddha pointed him back to what actually heals the work of freedom. Right now, Malawunkyaputta's urgency softened, and his mind returned to the path. Not because questions are bad, but because clinging to them can become another cage. You might know this pattern. The late-night research, the looping what if, the need for certainty. It can feel responsible, but it can also keep the arrow in place. Tonight, let the mind rest from solving the whole universe. Let it solve one small thing, your own tension. Feel your face, your jaw, your shoulders, and invite them to release. Let the unanswered questions sit on a shelf until morning. Lesson: not every question is worth your sleep. Practice. Write one line. The only thing I need to do tonight is rest. Read it once and set it down. Story 5 inches. The heat of the day. A monk named Sona practiced with fierce effort. He walked meditation until his feet were raw and bleeding. Still, he felt he was failing, and his heart turned heavy. He went to the Buddha, discouraged, thinking he should give up. The Buddha asked him about his past as a musician, how he tuned a stringed instrument. If the strings were too tight, the sound was harsh and could even snap. If the strings were too loose, the sound was dull and useless. Only when tuned just right could the music be clear and steady. Sona understood, not as theory, but as a relief in his body. He eased his effort, and the practice became workable again. You might know this in your own life. Pushing until you get headaches, snapping at people, collapsing at night, or going the other way, going numb, avoiding everything, feeling behind. There is a middle place, and it is not lazy. It is wise. Tonight, you don't need to be a hero. You need to be tuned. Let your shoulders drop like a coat sliding off. Lesson: the best effort is sustainable effort. Practice. Ask, am I too tight or too loose? Then choose one gentle adjustment, like unclenching your jaw or lowering tomorrow's first demand. Story 06. A young man named Sigalaka used to bow in 6 directions each morning. He did it because his father told him to, though he didn't know why. The Buddha saw him and asked what he was doing. Sigalaka explained the habit. Half duty, half confusion. The Buddha redirected the meaning toward relationships and responsibility, not as superstition, but as a way of honoring the people around you, parents and children, partners and friends, teachers and students, workers and employers, spiritual companions. He pointed to care, fairness, honesty, and follow through, the kind that builds trust, Sigalaka's mind shifted from empty ritual to lived kindness. Maybe you know what it's like to keep going through motions, checking boxes, still feeling uneasy inside. A life can look done right and still feel lonely. Tonight, consider the 6 directions in your own world. The people who hold you up. You don't have to solve every relationship in one night. Just soften one edge. Let one harsh sentence you've been carrying dissolve a little. Let the heart remember, it can be decent without being perfect. Lesson respect becomes real when it shows up in how you treat people. Practice. Think of one person and silently wish them well for 10 slow breaths. Then let your mind return to the pillow. Story 07. At the edge of the town, a man named Angulimala, now changed, met a pregnant woman in distress. She was in painful labor, fear rising with every wave. He went to the Buddha, troubled, wanting to help but unsure how. The Buddha guided him to offer a truth from his new life that he had turned away from harm. Angulimala returned, spoke with sincerity, and the woman's fear eased. The birth became safer, steadier, held by that moment of honest intention. The story spread, not as magic, but as the power of a clean heart meeting a hard moment. You might be carrying regret about how you spoke, how you reacted, how you fell short, and you might wonder if you're allowed to become someone gentler. This story says, quietly, yes, a changed life can still be useful. A calmer heart can support others, even without perfect words. Tonight, let that be true for you. 2. You can begin again without making a big scene. Let your breath loosen, and let the past stop grabbing your ankle. Lesson: what matters is the next honest step. Practice. Place a hand over your heart and say, "May I choose the kinder way." Then exhale and relax your fingers. Story 8 inches, a grove near Savatthi. The Buddha met people from the Kalama clan. They felt overwhelmed by competing voices, each teacher claiming certainty. Their minds were tired of being pulled like cloth in 2 directions. They asked how to know what to trust. The Buddha encouraged careful seeing. Notice what leads to harm and what leads to peace. Notice what makes the heart tight and what makes it open and steady. Not blind belief, not cynical rejection, but honest observation over time. The Kalamas felt relief, like someone opening a window in a crowded room. They could breathe again and choose a path with care. You might know this modern version: endless opinions, headlines, advice, and shoulds. Your mind can start to feel like an inbox that never clears. Tonight, you don't have to sort the whole world. You can sort one simple thing: what helps your heart settle. Let the body tell the truth, gently. If a thought makes you clench, you can set it down for now. If a thought softens you, you can keep it like a warm cup. Lesson: trust grows from what calms the heart and improves your actions. Practice. Ask, does this thought make me kinder and steadier? If not, place it on an imaginary shelf until morning. Story 09. Late one day. Bahia, a wandering seeker, arrived in urgent haste. He had been told he was close to awakening, and he felt time pressing him. He found the Buddha on alms round, simple and unadorned. Bahia begged for guidance right away. The Buddha asked him to wait until the proper time, but Bahia insisted again and again. So the Buddha offered a direct pointing in seeing, just the seen in hearing, just the heard not a new identity, not a story on top of the moment. Bahir's mind quieted in a clean, immediate way. He understood deeply, right there, without ceremony. Soon after, he died in an accident, and the monks were shaken by how sudden it was. The Buddha reminded them of life's uncertainty and the value of waking up now. You might be waiting for the right season to feel okay. After the deadline, after the bills, after everyone else is settled. But the moment you have is this one. The pillow, the breath, the room. Let your senses be simple tonight. Let the mind stop adding extra weight. Lesson peace begins when you stop arguing with what is already here. Practice for 1 minute. Notice only sounds, then only sensations, then only breath, letting each be plain and unforced. Story 10 inches the palace. King Pasenadi often visited the Buddha with a busy mind. He carried the weight of ruling, decisions, praise, blame, and constant demands. One day, he spoke of how quickly life passes, how little control he felt. The Buddha guided him towards steady conduct and a mind that doesn't depend on applause, not by escaping his duties, but by meeting them with clarity and restraint. The king listened, and his face softened, as if a tight belt had been loosened. He began to see that real security isn't found in more control. It's found in a heart that can stay balanced in gain and loss. You might feel like you're managing too many moving parts, trying to keep everyone okay. And the more you grip, the more exhausted you become. Tonight, you can release the throne, even if you don't wear a crown. Let tomorrow be tomorrow. Let tonight be simple, like a single candle in a quiet room. Feel your bed supporting you, without asking you to perform. Let your breathing find its own pace, like tide returning to shore. Offer yourself the dignity of rest. Lesson A. Steady mind is richer than a controlled world. Practice whisper. For now, I let it be. On each exhale for 2 minutes. And feel the muscles in your face soften. Banda Noi continue. Write stories 11 to 20 English. Each story is 17 to 20 lines long. Write without entries or notes to read aloud. ChatGPT Da Noi Da Suini. Trong 22 seconds. Story 11. At Jetavana. The air was cool, and the courtyard was quiet. A man arrived heated with anger, words spilling fast and sharp. He had come ready to argue, ready to win, ready to wound. The Buddha stayed still, like a lamp that doesn't flicker in a draught. The man threw insults the way people throw hot coals. The Buddha did not throw anything back. When the man paused, surprised by the silence, the Buddha asked him gently about gifts. If someone offers a gift and you do not accept it, who carries it away? The man's chest rose and fell, and he began to understand. Unaccepted. The anger remains with the one who brings it. The room felt wider, as if a window had opened. The man's face changed from tight to tired to quiet. Maybe you've met someone's harshness at work, or online, or across your own kitchen table. You don't have to carry what someone else insists on handing you. You can set it down, without making a speech. Tonight, let the day's sharp words fall to the floor like sand. A steady mind is a stronger shelter than a perfect reply. Rest one hand on your chest, and on each exhale, softly think, not mine to hold. Story 12. Near the river. Monks gathered after a long walk under the sun. They spoke about teachings, and some were clinging to the words like a life raft forever. They wanted certainty they could grip, rules they could use as weapons. The Buddha listened, and his gaze was calm and clear. He described a person crossing a dangerous river on a raft. The raft is precious while crossing. It keeps you afloat. But once you reach the far bank, you don't carry it on your head for the rest of your life. You set it down, grateful, and you keep walking. The monks grew quiet, like wind dropping in tall grass. They felt the difference between using a teaching and gripping it. You might recognize this in your own life. Clinging to a plan, a label, a role, a way you should be. Even good things can get heavy when you refuse to set them down. Tonight, you can stop hauling today's worries into tomorrow's sleep. Let the bed be the far bank for a few hours. You are allowed to loosen your grip without losing your goodness. Let your shoulders drop like a bag sliding off your arm. What helps is meant to help, not to crush you. Pick one thought you've been carrying and imagine placing it beside the river. Then exhale and turn toward rest. Story 13 inches, the shade of the monastery. A monk sat with shame on his face. He had made mistakes, and his mind kept replaying them like a harsh song. He feared he was too flawed to be steady again. The Buddha met him with patience, not with scolding. He offered a simple image of salt and water. A handful of salt in a small cup makes the water undrinkable. That same salt in a large river barely changes the taste. The monk's breathing slowed as the meaning landed. A small mind makes every error feel like the whole world. A wider mind can hold the truth without being poisoned by it. Maybe you know this when one email, one comment, one bill makes everything feel ruined. Your mind becomes a tight cup, and the taste turns bitter. Tonight, you can practice becoming the river, not denying what happened, just widening around it. Let the chest soften. Let the belly loosen. Let the jaw unclamp. You are more than the worst moment you remember. Growth is not dramatic. It is steady and spacious. For 1 minute, name one mistake as a grain of salt. Then name 3 things you did with care today, and let the body settle. Story 14. One morning, the Buddha sat with his son, Rahula, in a quiet place. A basin of water was nearby. Catching the light, Rahula was young, still learning how honesty shapes a life. The Buddha guided him without harshness. The way you guide a child near a fire. He used the water, showing how little remains when it's poured out. A life without truthfulness becomes like an empty basin, not useful for much. Then he pointed to the last drops. How they cling when you tilt it. A mind that hides and twists becomes sticky and uneasy. Rahula listened, and something steadied inside him. Not fear, but respect for a clean, simple way of living. You might feel the modern version. Small half-truths, people-pleasing, saying yes when you mean no. It builds tension you carry to bed, like a stone under the pillow. Tonight, you can rest by choosing one honest softness. You don't need a big confession, just one clean line. Let your breath smooth out as you stop performing. A quiet truth can feel like fresh sheets. A clear mind sleeps better than a defended one. Whisper one sentence you know is true, like I'm tired, or I need a little space. Then exhale and let your face relax. Story 15. At the monastery. A monk named Nanda walked slowly. eyes clouded with longing. He had left home, but his mind kept running back to what he missed. Even in quiet places, desire kept tapping his shoulder. The Buddha noticed, the way an elder notices a limp. He didn't shame Nanda. He guided him. He helped Nanda see the sparkle of craving and the fatigue it always brings. He pointed to how the mind promises sweetness, then demands more and more. Nanda began to see that chasing pleasure is a job with no retirement. Over time, his attention turned toward a calmer happiness. His steps grew steadier, like a person who finally stops checking the door every minute. Maybe you know that restless reaching for a perfect relationship, a perfect body, a perfect outcome. It can feel like motivation, but it can also be a leash. Tonight, you don't have to win the whole world's approval. You can let wanting be present without obeying it. Feel how the body softens when you stop bargaining with life. A simpler mind is not a smaller life. It is a freer one. You can enjoy what's here without trying to swallow it whole. For 1 minute, notice a pleasant sensation. Then practice letting it be enough. Breathing out as if you're loosening your grip. Story 16 inches, a bright hall. Queen Kema was proud of her beauty and control. She avoided the Buddha, worried he would speak about what she didn't want to face. But one day she came, curious, guarded, and perfectly composed. The Buddha spoke in a way that let her see change clearly. The image of beauty fading arose in her mind, like a flower wilting in fast time, not to frighten her, but to reveal what she already knew deep down. Her pride loosened, and behind it was a tender honesty. She saw how tightly she had been holding her identity. In that seeing, her mind opened, and relief entered quietly. Her strength shifted from appearance to wisdom. Maybe you know this. Trying to stay on top of it, trying to look fine, trying to never need help. It's exhausting to maintain a mask when you just want to rest. Tonight, you can take your armor off. Let the face be just a face, the body just a body, the mind just a mind. Nothing has to be perfect to be worthy of kindness. What softens you is often what saves you. You are allowed to be human in the dark. Gently relax your forehead, then your jaw, and silently offer yourself one warm phrase. May I be at ease tonight. Story 17. One night, the great supporter Anathapindika lay sick, breathing thin and tired. The house was quiet, like a city after the last shop closes. He had given generously in life, yet fear still visited him in the dark. The Buddha's attendant came and spoke a teaching suited for that moment. He guided Anathapindika to loosen clinging, even to good things. Not to family, not to possessions, not even to the idea of me. He was encouraged to rest the mind without grabbing at any world. Anathapindika's face softened, tears coming from relief, not drama. His heart felt lighter, like setting down a heavy bundle after a long walk. He understood that peace can be close, even when the body is weak. Maybe you felt this kind of fear, not just about illness, but about money, time, and the future. The mind tries to hold everything tighter, as if gripping could guarantee safety. Tonight, practice a different kind of safety. Let the bed hold you. Let the breath come and go. Let tomorrow wait outside the door. You can care without clutching. You can love without strangling what you love. A softer grip makes room for rest. With each exhale, quietly think, I can let go a little. And feel your shoulders sink into the pillow. Story 18 inches. The monastery. A monk named Kuapanthaka struggled to remember even a few lines. Others learned quickly, and he felt small and embarrassed. He considered leaving, convinced he wasn't made for this path. The Buddha met him kindly. Without comparing him to anyone, he gave him a simple cloth and a simple task: clean it. Again and again. As he rubbed the cloth, he watched it change, picking up dust and darkening. He began to see how the mind also collects dust. Moment by moment, cleaning became a quiet mirror, not a punishment. In time, his attention sharpened, steady and clear. His confidence returned, gentle and real. Maybe you felt behind, slower than others, tired of learning new systems, tired of being measured. Your worth is not your speed. Your mind can settle through small, faithful steps. Tonight, you don't need to master anything. You can do one simple thing with full care. Let that be enough for your nervous system. Small repetition can become peace. For 1 minute, rub your thumb slowly across your fingertips, feeling each touch, and let the mind rest in that simple contact. Story 19. One day, the Buddha walked through the monastery and saw a monk lying sick. The smell was unpleasant, and others had kept their distance. The Buddha did not keep his distance. He helped wash the monk, moving with quiet dignity. Then he gathered the community and guided them with firm compassion. Care for one another, especially when it's inconvenient. A spiritual life is not only meditation, it is also tending the human body. The monks' faces changed, shame turning into resolve. They began to understand that kindness is not a mood, it is a practice. The sick monk rested more easily, held by community instead of loneliness. Maybe you know what it's like to feel unwell and still expected to perform, or to feel messy inside and worry you'll be a burden. Tonight, remember this. You are not a problem to be avoided. You are a person to be cared for. Let your own care start gently. Right here. Soften your belly. Soften your throat. Soften your hands. Rest is also a kind of medicine. Place a hand on your cheek for a few breaths, like you would for someone you love, and let the body receive that warmth. Story 20 inches. A quiet grove. A monk spoke to the Buddha about pain in his body and pain in his mind. One ache was physical. The other was a storm of thoughts on top of it. The Buddha guided him to see the difference. The first pain is like being touched by one arrow. The second pain is what happens when the mind shoots itself again and again. Worry, resentment. Why me? Replaying, imagining worse outcomes. The monk listened, and his face softened with recognition. He couldn't erase the first arrow instantly, but he could stop adding the second. He learned to feel sensation without building a whole story around it. And in that simplicity, he found room to breathe. Maybe you know this with stress at work. One hard email becomes 10 hours of mental arguing. One mistake becomes a whole identity. All night long. Tonight, you can practice meeting the first arrow and refusing the second. Let the sensations be simple, even the uncomfortable ones. Let thoughts pass like clouds that don't need your approval. You can rest without solving everything. A quieter mind is a kinder place to fall asleep. For 1 minute, name what's here as tight, warm, heavy, or tingly. And each time a story starts, return to one plain sensation. Bandanoi continue. Write stories 21 to 30 English. Each story is 17 to 20 lines long. Write without entries or notes to read aloud. ChatGPT. Danoi. Story. 21 inches. The cool shade near Rajagaha. A woman named Samavati was known for her calm. Yet inside her household, jealousy and tension moved like smoke. People around her spoke harshly, and trouble kept trying to find her. The Buddha guided her towards steady kindness. Even when others were unkind, she practiced patience, not as weakness, but as a strong, quiet choice. When hurtful words came, she didn't feed them with more fire. She kept her mind like a clear bowl, not easily stained. Even when conflict rose, she returned to gentle intention again and again. Her steadiness became a shelter for others, and in time, people noticed the difference between drama and dignity. Maybe you live with someone stressed, or you work around moods that swing fast. It's easy to catch that mood like a cold. Tonight, you can practice being the steady one, at least inside your own skin. You don't have to fix everyone. You can choose not to add heat. Let your jaw unclench. Let your shoulders drop. Let your hands soften. Lesson: you don't have to mirror the storm to be real. Practice. On each exhale, silently think, soft is strong, and feel one place in your body release. Story 22. At Jetavana. A man named Upali came with a sharp mind and a debating posture. He had been connected to another teacher, and he came to test the Buddha. He asked about right and wrong conduct, ready to catch a mistake. The Buddha answered clearly, without trying to win. He pointed to actions and their results. How harm leaves the heart uneasy. How honesty, restraint, and care bring a quieter sleep. Upali's confidence shifted into respect, not because he was defeated, but because he felt the steadiness. He saw the difference between arguing and understanding. His mind loosened, like a fist opening slowly. He chose to support what he now saw as wholesome. Maybe you know this inner debate, the way your mind cross-examines you at night. You replay conversations like a courtroom. Tonight, you can step out of that room. You can trade proving for seeing. Let your breath smooth out, like a page turning gently. You don't have to win your own case to rest. Lesson A. Clear heart is more convincing than a clever argument. Practice. Write one line. What would a decent, rested version of me do tomorrow? Then stop and let the answer wait. Story 23 inches. The monastery. Monks gathered around a water pot that had cracked. They spoke of how things break, how plans fail, how bodies age. A young monk felt uneasy, as if life was unreliable on purpose. The Buddha guided them to look carefully at change, without bitterness. He pointed to the nature of things that arise and pass away, like foam on a river, like a bubble in rain, like dew on grass at sunrise. Not to make life bleak, but to help the heart stop clinging so tightly. The monk's fear softened into a quieter respect for the present moment. He began to treat time like something precious, not something to fight. Maybe you've noticed how quickly months go by, how fast kids grow, how fast work piles up. You try to hold the days still, and it makes you tired. Tonight, you can let the day be finished. You can let your body be in this one safe moment. Let the bed support you like earth supports a tree. What changes can still be loved. What passes can still be appreciated. Lesson: when you stop clinging, the present gets kinder. Practice: name 3 small things from today that were real and simple. Then exhale and let them be enough. Story: 24 inches, a quiet hall. A monk spoke to the Buddha about being bothered by thoughts. He felt chased by memories, plans, and sudden cravings. He wanted a way to stop them. Like slamming a door, the Buddha guided him with a gentle image. If you try to stop thoughts with force, it's like stirring muddy water and demanding it be clear. Instead, let it settle, without grabbing at each swirl. Attend to what is skillful, and let the unskillful fade from lack of feeding. The monk's shoulders dropped as he understood. He didn't need to win a fight. He needed to stop supplying fuel. His mind grew clearer the way a jar clears when left alone. Maybe you know that nighttime swirl, the overthinking that feels urgent. You push at it, and it pushes back. Tonight, don't wrestle your mind. Let it be a jar on a shelf. Let the thoughts drift, and let the body stay heavy in the bed. You can be kind while the mind is noisy. Lesson: peace comes from not feeding the noise. Practice for 1 minute. Notice a thought as thinking. Then return to the feeling of your hands resting. Again and again. Story: 25 inches, the town of Vesali. A man named Sunakata became disappointed. He had wanted impressive displays, special signs, and grand experiences. When life stayed ordinary, his faith cooled into complaint. He spoke against the Buddha, saying the path was not special enough. The Buddha responded by pointing to what truly matters. Not wonders, but the ending of greed, anger, and confusion in the heart. Not excitement, but steadiness. Not a show, but a life that harms less and heals more. Some listened and felt their priorities realign. Sunakata's story became a reminder of how the mind can chase sparkle. Maybe you feel this too. Always needing the next big thing to feel okay. A new purchase, a new plan, a new hit of motivation. Tonight, notice how ordinary peace can be. A quiet room, a steady breath, a softening jaw. That kind of peace is not loud, but it lasts. Let simple be enough for a few hours. Lesson: the deepest change is often quiet and plain. Practice: choose one ordinary sensation, like the warmth of your pillow, and rest attention there until your body softens. Story: 26 inches, the monastery. The monks argued about a small point of rule and status. Voices rose, and pride tightened the air. Each person wanted to be right, and no one wanted to bend. The Buddha guided them with the spirit of harmony. He pointed to the value of speaking at the right time, with care, to listen fully, and to remember the shared purpose. He helped them see how conflict steals peace from everyone, including the winner. The room cooled, like coals covered with ash. The monks began to soften, one by one. Embarrassed and relieved, they returned to cooperation, not because they were perfect, but because they were honest. Maybe you know this. Tension with a partner, a co-worker, a family chat that spirals. Even after you're right, your body still carries the stress. Tonight, you can choose harmony inside yourself. You can stop replaying the argument to get a better ending. Let the ending be sleep. Let your tongue rest in your mouth. Your jaw unclench. Your shoulders fall. Lesson: being right is expensive when it costs you peace. Practice, exhale, and silently say, I release the replay. Then feel the back of your head sink into the pillow. Story 27. A man named Anuruddha came to the Buddha, troubled by restlessness. His mind kept scanning for what was missing. What was next? Even quiet moments felt unfinished. The Buddha guided him towards steady mindfulness. Simple and continuous. Not as tension, but as gentle remembering. To know walking as walking. Eating as eating. Lying down as lying down. When the mind wandered, return without scolding. Anuruddha practiced, and his attention became bright and calm. Restlessness softened into a grounded presence. He discovered that peace isn't found by adding more, but by seeing clearly. Maybe your mind does this at night, scanning tomorrow's list like a security guard. It thinks it's protecting you, but it keeps you awake. Tonight, you can tell it softly, thank you, and rest. Let your awareness be simple, like a candle that doesn't chase the wind. Feel your body lying down, fully supported. Let the next moment be enough. Lesson: the mind settles when you stop making every moment a problem. Practice for 1 minute. Repeat softly in your mind, lying down, and let that phrase be a gentle anchor. Story 28 inches. A quiet gathering. A wealthy man named Dhananjani worried about his life. He wanted success, security, and respect, but felt pulled thin by duties. He spoke of work, status, and the fear of falling behind. The Buddha guided him toward right livelihood and balanced living, not rejecting money, but not worshipping it either. To earn honestly, to spend wisely, to care for family, and to cultivate generosity, and to remember that a heart without kindness is never truly rich. The man felt his breathing slow, like he'd been holding it for years. He saw a path that didn't require burning himself out to prove his worth. He left steadier, less frantic. Maybe you feel this. Pressure to provide, to keep up, to never slip. It can feel like your whole identity is tied to numbers and performance. Tonight, you can separate your worth from your workload. Your value is not your inbox. Let money thoughts wait outside the bedroom door. Let your body receive rest like a quiet paycheck from the universe. Lesson: provide with honesty, and rest with a clean heart. Practice: place a hand on your belly and say, enough for tonight. Then exhale and let your stomach soften. Story 29 inches. The monastery. A monk confessed to the Buddha that he kept judging others. He noticed every flaw, every slip, every small mistake. It made him feel sharp, but also lonely and tense. The Buddha guided him to look inward with humility. He offered the image of someone carrying a basket of dirt and pointing out dust on others. The monk saw how judgment is a burden you haul around. He began to practice patience and goodwill instead. His face softened, like a knot untied slowly. He found more peace in community and more peace inside himself. Maybe you know this habit. Scanning your partner, your coworker, even yourself for what's wrong. It feels like control, but it keeps the heart on guard. Tonight, try letting one person be imperfect without commentary. Start with yourself. Let the breath be gentle, and let the brow smooth. A kinder mind is a quieter mind. Let compassion be the last thought you wear to bed. Lesson: when you drop judgment, you pick up peace. Practice: think of someone difficult, then quietly wish, "May you be well," once, without forcing feeling, and let it be enough. Story 30. One night, a monk came to the Buddha. Embarrassed by recurring desire, he felt pulled by images, memories, and longing that wouldn't quit. He feared something was wrong with him. The Buddha guided him to see desire as a visitor, not a master. He spoke of guarding the sense doors and choosing wise attention, not feeding the flame with extra fantasies, not punishing himself either, like not adding oil to a lamp that's already bright. The monk felt relief in the simple honesty of it. He could work with the mind, instead of waging war on it. Over time, his urges lost their power to command. Maybe you know this. Cravings of all kinds. Snacks, scrolling, shopping, romance, approval. At night, the mind wants comfort fast, and it reaches. Tonight, you can offer comfort without grabbing. Let the body soften, and let the craving wave rise and fall. You can ride it like a small swell, without building a whole story. Rest is allowed, even with imperfect thoughts passing by. Lesson: you don't have to obey every urge to be okay. Practice for 1 minute. When a craving appears, name it wanting. Relax your hands and feel the wanting change on its own. Ban Da Noi. Continue. Write stories 31 to 40 English. Each story is 17 to 20 lines long. Write without entries or notes to read aloud. Chat GPT Da Noi. Story 31. The Buddha sat while a crowd gathered, tired from daily life. A farmer spoke first, worried about crops, weather, and debt. A merchant spoke next, worried about rivalry and reputation. A mother spoke, worried about her children and the future. Their fears sounded different, but the tightness was the same. The Buddha guided them to see how worry multiplies when the mind grabs it. He spoke of tending what you can tend and releasing what you cannot control, like planting carefully, watering steadily, and not shouting at the sky. The group grew quieter, as if the ground beneath them became more solid. They didn't get a guarantee. They got a steadier way to live. Maybe you know this. Your mind trying to control every outcome at once. It calls it planning, but it feels like strain in your neck. Tonight, let the future be weather. Do what you can tomorrow, and let tonight be soil. Feel your body heavy, supported, not required to solve everything. Let your breathing be plain and smooth. Lesson: care for what's yours to do. Then let the rest pass. Practice. Name one doable task for tomorrow. Then whisper, "Not now," and let your shoulders drop. Story 32 inches. A quiet corner of the monastery. A monk admitted he felt afraid of death, not in dramatic ways, just a steady worry that stole his sleep. He watched his body change, and it unsettled him. The Buddha guided him to look directly, with gentleness, at the body's nature, to see it as changing, aging, made of parts, not a possession you can lock away, not to become cold, but to become honest. When the monk stopped pretending the body would stay the same, His fear eased. It was like finally putting down a heavy secret. He began to value his days more simply. He stopped wasting nights on frantic bargaining. Maybe you feel this in small ways. The mirror, the soreness, the time passing faster each year. It can make you cling harder, and then you suffer twice. Tonight, you can befriend change. You can let the body be a living thing, not a contract. Feel your chest rise and fall, doing its work without your micromanaging. Let gratitude replace the grip. Lesson: when you stop fighting change, you get your breath back. Practice: place a hand on your ribs and silently say, "Thank you for carrying me today." Then rest. Story 33. At Jetavana, a group of monks argued over who deserved respect. Each one held a list of reasons. Like papers clenched in a fist, the mood grew sharp, and the peace of the place thinned. The Buddha guided them toward humility and harmony. He pointed to how pride inflames the mind and makes community brittle, and how respect grows naturally when you care for others. The monks began to notice their own tight faces and fast speech. One by one, they softened, embarrassed but grateful. They remembered they were here to lessen greed and anger, not decorate an identity. The air cooled, like evening after a hot day. Maybe you know this. Competition at work, needing credit, fearing being overlooked. Even at home, it can show up as, "Do you see how much I do?" Tonight, you can rest from proving. You can be valuable without being loud. Let your breath be quiet, like a cat settling into a warm spot. Let the heart be simple again. Lessen pride makes you thirsty. Humility lets you drink. Practice. Think of one person who helped you recently, and silently thank them once. Then let your eyes grow heavy. Story 34 inches. A village. A man came to the Buddha full of worry about his son. The boy had fallen in with rough friends, and the father felt helpless. He spoke quickly, with that tight panic of love mixed with fear. The Buddha guided him toward patient influence, not desperate control. He pointed to living as an example, speaking at the right time, and not fueling conflict, like tending a lamp, protecting it from wind, without shaking it. The father's shoulders lowered as he realized how much his fear had become pressure. He could care deeply without clinging. He could set boundaries without hatred. He could keep the door open without begging. Maybe you know this with family, parenting, partners, grown kids, even close friends. Love can turn into gripping, and gripping turns into exhaustion. Tonight, you can let love be softer. Let it be steady, like a porch light that stays on. Feel your hands unclench, as if releasing someone's arm. You can do your part and still sleep. Lesson care is strongest when it isn't frantic. Practice on the exhale. Quietly say, "I can love without gripping," and let your fingers relax. Story 35 inches. The monastery. A monk told the Buddha he felt stuck in regret. He replayed an old mistake the way a tongue touches a sore tooth. He thought he didn't deserve peace until he punished himself enough. The Buddha guided him toward wise remorse, not endless self-hatred, to see clearly what was unskillful, to make amends where possible, and to stop feeding the loop, like cleaning a spill, then not pouring it out again to prove you're sorry. The monk felt a quiet relief, like air returning to a room. He could learn without whipping himself. He could be accountable without being cruel. Maybe you know this. The late-night reruns of what you should have said, what you should have done. It doesn't fix the past. It only steals the present. Tonight, you can choose learning over replaying. Let the past be a teacher, not a jailer. Feel your forehead smooth. As if you're letting the court adjourn, you are allowed to move forward with decency. Lesson repair what you can. Then stop punishing yourself. Practice. Write one sentence. Next time, I will. Then close your eyes and let that be enough. Story 36. One day, a monk confessed he was troubled by anger that flared fast. It showed up like a match, especially when he felt disrespected. He was ashamed and also tired of it. The Buddha guided him to see anger as burning the one who holds it first, like gripping a hot coal and waiting to throw it. He encouraged patience, careful speech, and cooling the mind before acting. The monk began to notice the first spark, the tight jaw, the heat in the chest. He learned to pause, and that pause became freedom. Over time, fewer fires started, and when they did, they ended sooner. Maybe you know this. Snapping at a partner, an employee, a customer service line, then regretting it in bed. Anger promises power, but it usually delivers exhaustion. Tonight, you can practice cooling early. Let your tongue rest. Let your teeth separate slightly. Let your shoulders lower. You can be strong without being sharp. Let peace be your strength tonight. Lesson. The pause is where your dignity lives. Practice when you feel heat in the body. Exhale slowly and relax your jaw. Then choose your next word only after the body softens. Story 37. At Jetavana, a young monk felt restless and jealous of others' progress. He watched who was praised, who seemed calm, who looked advanced. His mind compared like a machine that never shuts off. The Buddha guided him to return to his own path. He pointed to how comparison steals joy and creates false hunger, and how each person's mind ripens in its own season. The monk's eyes softened, like he had been squinting for hours. He felt embarrassed, then relieved. He could stop racing shadows. He could return to his own breath, his own step. Maybe you feel this with co-workers, friends, siblings, social media, even neighbors. Your mind says, I should be further by now. Tonight, let that voice grow quiet. Your life is not a contest. It's a living. Feel your chest rise. Feel your belly fall. And let that be enough. You can rest without ranking yourself. Lesson. When you stop comparing, you start living. Practice. Name one thing you did today that was decent. Then let gratitude soften your face as you drift. Story 38 inches. A village. A man came to the Buddha complaining about being wronged. He carried his grievance like a jar he refused to set down. It made him tense, and it followed him everywhere. The Buddha guided him toward forgiveness, not as approval, but as release. Holding hatred, he explained, is like carrying a burden for someone else's mistake. The man grew quiet, feeling the weight in his own shoulders. He began to see how much energy he had been donating to the past. His breath slowed, like someone finally sitting down. He didn't forget what happened, but he stopped drinking it daily. His mind became more spacious, less bitter. Maybe you know this. Resentment at work, family wounds, old words that still sting. It can keep you awake, rehearsing your case in the dark. Tonight, you can choose release, even if it's small, not a grand gesture, just loosening one finger. Let the jaw unclench and let the eyes soften. Freedom can begin quietly. Lesson: forgiveness is how you stop paying for yesterday. Practice whisper, I release one piece of this. And on the exhale, imagine setting a stone down beside the bed. Story 39. At the monastery, a monk told the Buddha he felt overwhelmed by thoughts of the future. He kept imagining worst-case outcomes. Like a mind practicing for disaster, it drained him. Even on good days, the Buddha guided him toward present moment awareness and wise preparation. To do what is needed, then return to what is here. Like tying your boat properly, then sitting to watch the river instead of staring for storms. The monk felt his chest loosen, as if he'd been holding his breath all year. He learned to notice fear as a visitor, not a prophecy. He learned that most imagined disasters never arrive, and even if trouble comes, a rested mind meets it better. Maybe you know this. The 2 planning spiral, the money worries, the what if I fail loop. It feels like responsibility, but it feels terrible in your body. Tonight, return to the boat that is already tied. Feel the bed, the blanket, the room. Let the future sit outside like weather beyond the window. Your next task is rest. Lesson: prepare a little. Then come back to now. Practice. Name one next right step for tomorrow. Then place your attention on the feeling of the blanket for 1 minute. Story 40 inches, a quiet moment. A monk asked the Buddha how to know what is truly mine. He felt anxious about losing things, losing status, losing comfort. The Buddha guided him towards seeing ownership with clarity. You can care for things, but you cannot make them permanent. Even the body is borrowed, changing day by day. The monk listened, and his grip loosened. He could still take responsibility, but without panic. He could still enjoy, but without clinging. His mind became calmer, like a hand opening after holding too long. He began to sleep with less fear. Maybe you feel this when you check accounts, track performance, hold tight to control at work. The mind treats life like a fragile glass you must never set down. Tonight, you can set it down. Let the bed be the place where you stop owning the world for a while. Feel your palms soften, your shoulders sink, your eyes grow heavy. Nothing needs to be secured tonight. Lesson: you can hold life gently, or you can squeeze it and lose your peace. Practice for 1 minute. Repeat silently. Held, but not owned. And feel one area of your body relax each time you exhale. Ban Da Noi. Continue. Write stories 41 to 50 English. Each story is 17 to 20 lines long. Write without entries or notes to read aloud. ChatGPT. Da Noi. Story 41. At Kalika. The air was still, and the trees barely moved. A monk named Meghiya asked the Buddha for time alone to meditate. The Buddha suggested waiting, but Meghiya went anyway, eager to push forward. In the quiet grove, his mind did not become peaceful. Restlessness rose, along with irritation, and old desires tugged at him. He returned, embarrassed, like someone who walked out confident and came back humbled. The Buddha met him with steady kindness, not blame. He guided him towards supports that help the mind settle. Good friendship, a steady moral life, simple living, and wise attention. A mind doesn't calm down just because you order it to. It calms when the conditions are gentle and steady. Megya's face softened as he realized he wasn't broken, just unsupported. Maybe you know this. Trying to meditate or sleep while your life is still buzzing. You tell yourself to calm down, and it only adds pressure. Tonight, give yourself conditions, not commands. Let the room be quiet. Let the body be heavy. Let the day be finished. Lesson peace grows from steady support, not force. Practice. Choose one support right now. Dim the screen. Relax your jaw. And let your hands rest open for 1 minute. Story 42. One evening at Jetavana, a monk came with a mind caught in resentment. He felt insulted by another monk, and he couldn't let it go. He replayed the moment like a needle stuck in a groove. The Buddha listened, calm and attentive. He guided him to notice how resentment keeps the wound wet, and how it steals rest from the one who carries it. He encouraged the monk to reflect on goodwill, even if feelings were not warm yet, to stop feeding the story with extra imagined scenes. The monk's breathing slowed, like a storm losing strength. He saw the difference between protecting dignity and protecting a grudge. He chose to speak later with care, not with heat. His shoulders dropped, and the face softened. Maybe you know this at work. An email tone, a comment, a slight, you can't stop chewing. It follows you into bed, asking for one more replay. Tonight, you can let the replay end without anyone winning. Let your mind be bigger than one moment. Lesson you don't have to keep holding the bruise to prove it hurt. Practice on each exhale. Silently say, I release one replay, and let your tongue rest in your mouth. Story 43 inches. Rajagaha. A monk named Vakali lay sick, weak and frightened. He had been attached to the Buddha's physical presence, and now he feared losing it. The room was quiet, with that tender hush of illness. The Buddha came to see him, steady and compassionate. He guided Vakali away from clinging to appearances, to understand the teaching through living it, not by holding on to a form. Vakali's eyes softened, like someone finally stopping a long chase. His fear loosened, and his mind grew clearer. He felt dignity return, even in a failing body. The Buddha encouraged him toward a calm, wise seeing of experience, not grasping, not pushing away, just understanding. Vakali's breath became smoother, less desperate. Maybe you know this fear, not only about health, but about losing what you depend on, a relationship, a job title, a certain image of yourself. Tonight, let something deeper hold you than any outer form. Let simple awareness be your shelter. Lesson: what truly supports you is the way you understand, not what you cling to. Practice feel one steady sensation, like the weight of your body on the bed, and rest there for a full minute. Story 44. At Jetavana, a monk came to the Buddha exhausted by harsh speech around him. He lived among people who criticized, teased, and provoked. His chest felt tight all day, bracing for the next comment. The Buddha guided him toward patient endurance and careful speech, not to become numb, but to stay dignified. He offered a strong image of keeping the mind harmless, even under provocation. Like choosing not to return hurt with hurt. The monk listened, and his shoulders lowered. He saw how revenge keeps the poison circulating. He practiced holding his tongue, and his heart became less jagged. He learned to protect his peace without attacking others. The tension in his body started to ease. Maybe you know this. A workplace with sharp personalities, or family members who poke at old buttons. You plan comebacks at night, and it keeps you awake. Tonight, you can let the comeback go. Your rest is worth more than a perfect reply. Lesson: you don't have to mirror cruelty to be strong. Practice: relax your jaw. Press your lips gently together. And on the exhale, think, I choose calm. For 1 minute. Story 45. Between two towns. The Sakyans and Kolyans gathered by the Rohini River. The water was low, and both sides wanted it for their fields. Voices rose. Pride rose. And anger spread through the crowd. The Buddha arrived and stood quietly where everyone could see him. He guided them to look at what they were about to trade for water. Lives, families, and years of regret, for something that could be shared. The crowd grew still, like a wind suddenly stopping. People looked at each other with new embarrassment. They saw how quickly a small conflict becomes a big one. They stepped back from violence, choosing cooperation instead. The tension in the air loosened, and the day felt lighter. Maybe you know this. A fight over chores, money, a misunderstanding that swells. The mind narrows, and suddenly peace feels optional. Tonight, widen the mind before it hardens. Remember what you value more than being right. Let your shoulders drop as if putting down a weapon you never wanted. Lesson: it's never worth burning down your life over a small shortage. Practice: think of one conflict, then ask softly, what matters most? And let your breath smooth out. Story 46. One day. People in the city panicked as a fierce elephant was sent toward the Buddha. The streets filled with shouting and fear. The Buddha stood steady, not frozen, not frantic. He met the danger with calm presence and goodwill. The elephant approached, wild and charged with aggression. But the Buddha's composure did not feed that aggression. The animal slowed, then quieted, like a storm losing its fuel. People watched in stunned silence as fear dissolved into relief. The moment taught them something without drama. A calm mind can change what chaos becomes, not by control, but by steadiness and harmlessness. Maybe you know your own elephant. Stress that charges at you at night. Deadlines. Money. Worries. Old anger. The feeling of being cornered. Tonight, you can meet it with steadiness instead of panic. Let your breath be slow. Your hands unclenched. Your face soft. You don't have to wrestle the mind into peace. Lesson: calm is not weakness. It's a power that doesn't harm. Practice. Place one hand on your chest, and with each exhale, soften the muscles around your eyes for 1 minute. Story 47. At Jetavana. Ananda spoke to the Buddha about the value of friendship. He had seen how some people improved quickly when supported well. He also saw how others struggled alone and became discouraged. The Buddha guided him warmly toward the importance of good companionship, not as a nice extra, but as a real support for the path. A good friend encourages what is wholesome and helps you drop what hurts you. Ananda's face brightened, like someone remembering they don't have to do it all alone. He carried that spirit back into the community. People began to help each other more kindly. The monastery felt softer, more human. Maybe you know this. Trying to handle everything yourself. Work pressure, family needs, the quiet fear that you're burdening others. Tonight, let yourself be supported, even if it's just by this moment. You are allowed to lean on something steady. Let the bed hold you. Let the room hold you. Let kindness hold you. Your nervous system relaxes when it knows it's not alone. Lesson: the right support makes hard things lighter. Practice: think of one supportive person and silently say, "Thank you." Then let your shoulders sink down. Story 48. A man came to the Buddha, carrying pain and anger toward his body. He felt betrayed by sickness and exhausted by discomfort. He said his mind was suffering twice, with worry piled on top of ache. The Buddha guided him to see the difference between sensation and extra struggle. The body may hurt, but the mind doesn't have to add a second wound. He encouraged simple awareness, meeting feeling without the added story. The man's face softened, like unclenching after a long grip. He still felt sensations, but he stopped fighting them so fiercely. Breathing became easier, not because life was perfect, but because the battle ended. Maybe you know this with stress. One problem becomes 10 in your head. One headache becomes a whole night of fear and forecasting. Tonight, let sensation be just sensation. Let thoughts pass without turning into a movie. Your body can be uncomfortable without your mind becoming cruel. Let your jaw loosen. Let your forehead smooth. Rest is allowed, even if everything isn't solved. Lesson: don't shoot yourself with the second arrow. Practice for 1 minute. Name sensations simply: tight, warm, heavy, and return to the bed's support each time a story starts. Story 49. King Pasenadi came to the Buddha after a meal, heavy and sleepy. He spoke of feeling sluggish, yet his habits kept pulling him back. His duties were many, and he used food like comfort and reward. The Buddha guided him toward mindful restraint, gently and practically, not harsh dieting, not shame, but awareness of enough. The king began to eat with more attention and less rushing. Over time, his body felt lighter and his mind clearer. His energy returned, and he felt less foggy under pressure. He learned that comfort doesn't have to become excess, and that clarity is a kind of pleasure too. Maybe you know this. Late night snacking, scrolling, anything that soothes fast but costs you sleep. You're not bad for wanting comfort. You're just tired. Tonight, choose a gentler comfort. Let rest be the reward, not another thing to consume. Feel the belly soften, not braced, not stuffed with worry. Let enough be enough. Lesson: when you notice enough, peace gets closer. Practice: place a hand on your belly and silently say, "Enough for tonight." Then exhale slowly and relax your shoulders. Story 50a. A monk came to the Buddha worried about his wandering mind. He said it leaped from thought to thought, like a monkey in branches. He felt embarrassed, thinking he should be calmer by now. The Buddha guided him to work with the mind patiently, not with anger, not with force, but with steady returning, like training an animal with gentleness and consistency. Each time the mind wanders, you notice and you come back. No scolding, no drama, just returning. The monk felt relief, like being given permission to be human. He stopped treating distraction as a personal failure. His mind began to settle more naturally, like water that clears when you stop stirring. Maybe you know this at night. The mind hopping through emails, money, worries, old conversations. You try to grab it, and it slips away again. Tonight, don't grab. Just return. Kindly. Again and again. Let the bed be the branch you return to. Lesson progress is made of gentle returns. Practice for 1 minute. When you notice thinking, whisper in your mind, back, and return to the feeling of your hands resting. Ban Danoi continue. Write stories 51 to 60, English. Each story is 17 to 20 lines long. Write without entries or notes to read aloud. ChatGPT, Danoi, Story 51, at Jetavana. A man came to the Buddha feeling trapped by his own habits. He said he kept promising to change, then doing the same things again. His voice was tired, like someone carrying a bag that never gets lighter. The Buddha guided him to see habits as built from small repeats, not fixed fate, not a curse, just a pattern fed over time. He pointed to steady effort, little by little, without self-hatred, like turning a cart by moving it 1 careful inch at a time. The man's shoulders eased when he realized change didn't require a dramatic moment. It required a new next step, chosen again and again. He left with less shame and more steadiness. Maybe you know this. Scrolling too late, snapping in stress, overworking, overthinking, then regretting it. Your brain isn't evil. It's just rehearsed. Tonight, you can rehearse something gentler. 1 small choice can start a new track. Let your hands soften, and let your breath smooth out. You can begin again without punishing yourself. Lesson A. New life is built from small new repeats. Practice. Pick 1 tiny change for tomorrow. And on each exhale, quietly think, just this 1 step, for 1 minute. Story 52 inches. The quiet of a monastery walkway. A monk asked the Buddha about fear. He said fear came at night. When the world got silent, it made his mind imagine problems that weren't even there. The Buddha guided him to meet fear with clear seeing, to notice what is present and what is only a picture in the mind, and to bring attention back to the body, where the truth is simpler. The monk practiced, feeling the ground, the breath, the steady contact of feet. Fear softened, like fog thinning when the sun rises. He learned he didn't have to obey every alarm inside him. He could check gently, then return to calm. Maybe you know this. Lying in bed, mind racing through worst-case scenes. Your body is safe, but your mind is acting like it's not. Tonight, let your senses be your home. Feel the blanket, feel the pillow, feel the room around you. Let the imagined scenes drift away like dreams before sleep. You are allowed to rest in what is real. Lesson fear shrinks when you return to what's actually here. Practice for 1 minute. Name 3 real sensations you feel right now. Then let your eyes grow heavier. Story 53. A monk came to the Buddha feeling frustrated with a fellow monk. He said the other man was careless, annoying, always in the way. His mind built a whole story of blame and irritation. The Buddha guided him toward looking at his own reactions first. He described how the mind searches for faults when it's already tense. and how annoyance can become a habit you keep feeding. The monk began to notice the tightness in his chest and jaw. He realized he wanted the world to match his preferences perfectly. That demand was exhausting him. He softened, seeing that patience is also self-care. Maybe you know this. Being irritated by co-workers, family habits, small noises, slow drivers. It can feel justified, but it drains you. Tonight, practice easing the demand. Let one small annoyance exist without a full complaint. Feel your shoulders drop, like releasing a strap. You don't have to like everything to be at peace. Lesson: when you drop the demand, you get your calm back. Practice: think of one minor irritation, and on the exhale, say silently, aloud, then relax your jaw. Story: 54 inches, a village. A man asked the Buddha why he felt empty even when life looked successful. He had money, respect, and a busy schedule, yet his nights were restless. He said it felt like running all day and arriving nowhere. The Buddha guided him toward generosity and inner cultivation, not as a performance, but as a way to loosen the grip of self-centered worry. He spoke of the quiet joy that comes from giving and living cleanly. The man's face softened, as if he could finally breathe without proving anything. He saw that success without a kind heart doesn't satisfy for long. He began to reorder his life, gently, from the inside. His sleep improved as his mind stopped starving for meaning. Maybe you know this. Chasing goals, then feeling strangely flat when you reach them. The mind says, "Now what?" and keeps sprinting. Tonight, let yourself be nourished by something simpler than achievement. A moment of honesty, a moment of kindness, a moment of rest. Let your body feel what it's like to stop running. You are more than your output. Lesson: the heart needs kindness, not just accomplishment. Practice: think of one small kindness you did or could do, and let that warm your chest for one quiet minute. Story 55. At Jetavana, a monk confessed he was discouraged by slow progress. He said, "My mind is still messy. I keep slipping." He wanted a quick finish, a clean result, a badge of being done. The Buddha guided him toward patience and steady practice, like rain filling a jar, drop by drop, without rushing, or a path worn smooth by many footsteps, not one leap. The monk's shoulders lowered as he recognized the pressure he'd been adding. He began to respect small improvements, a calmer response here, a kinder word there. The mind grew steadier because he stopped demanding perfection. Maybe you know this. Wanting immediate change, then feeling like a failure when you're still human. It's exhausting to grade yourself every hour. Tonight, release the scoreboard. Your nervous system heals through consistency, not criticism. Let your breathing be simple and unforced. Rest is part of steady progress. Lesson: small steps count more than harsh expectations. Practice: name one tiny way you were steadier today than last week. Then let gratitude soften your face as you drift. Story 56. A man came to the Buddha worried about his reputation. He said people talked, judged, and misunderstood him. He felt like he lived inside other people's opinions. The Buddha guided him toward inward steadiness, praise and blame. He pointed out, "Come and go like the wind. If you build your home in the wind, you'll never rest." The man grew quiet, noticing how much he had been bending to be liked. He began to see that clean actions matter more than applause. He could live decently and let gossip pass by. His breath eased, like untying a too tight knot. Maybe you know this. Checking messages, worrying how you came across, replaying your tone. It can steal hours of sleep without fixing anything. Tonight, you can step out of the crowd. Let your worth sit inside your own chest, not on someone else's tongue. Feel the back of your body supported. Nothing to prove. A quiet mind doesn't need constant approval. Lesson: when you stop chasing praise, you finally breathe. Practice whisper. I choose clean actions, not applause. Then exhale and soften your shoulders. Story 57 inches, a quiet place. A monk asked the Buddha about grief after losing someone dear. He said his chest felt heavy, and every memory brought a fresh ache. He wanted the pain to go away, and he felt guilty for still hurting. The Buddha guided him to meet grief with kindness and understanding. Love naturally brings sorrow when what we love changes or goes, not as punishment, but as the cost of caring. He encouraged the monk not to harden against love out of fear, and not to drown in grief by clinging to what cannot return. The monk's eyes softened, tears coming without shame. He felt held by something steady, even while missing deeply. Maybe you know this. Loss that returns at night. In quiet rooms, you can't force grief to leave, but you can stop fighting it like an enemy. Tonight, let grief be a wave that can pass through. Let the body be supported while the heart remembers. You are allowed to miss and still rest. Kindness doesn't erase loss. It makes it bearable. Lesson: grief is love looking for a place to land. Practice: place a hand on your heart and softly say, "It makes sense." Then breathe out and let your shoulders drop. Story 58. At Jetavana, a monk spoke of being pulled by pleasure and pulled by pain. He felt tossed around, like a small boat in changing winds. Some days he chased comfort. Other days he ran from discomfort. The Buddha guided him toward balance and clear seeing. Pleasure changes. Pain changes. Both are unreliable as a home. A steadier refuge is a mind that notices without grabbing. The monk practiced watching sensations come and go. He found space between feeling and reaction. That space became peace. He was less controlled by moods and circumstances. Maybe you know this. Eating, shopping, scrolling to feel better, then feeling worse after, or avoiding hard conversations until stress builds. Tonight, rest in the middle. Let comfort be simple, not consuming. Let discomfort be present without panic. Your breath can be a quiet bridge back to balance. Lesson: freedom grows in the space before you react. Practice for 1 minute. When you notice wanting or pushing away, relax your hands and return to one plain sensation. Story 59. A monk came to the Buddha ashamed of his own mind. He said, "I have thoughts I don't want, and I feel dirty for having them." He feared the thoughts meant something terrible about him. The Buddha guided him to understand thoughts as mental events, not commands. A thought can arise without being chosen, like a leaf blown onto a path. What matters is whether you pick it up and carry it. The monk felt relief in his chest, like air returning. He could stop identifying with every passing picture. He learned to choose actions, not be bullied by the mind. His nights grew calmer because he stopped fighting shadows. Maybe you know this. Strange thoughts at bedtime, worries, images, old memories. You panic and then they get louder. Tonight, let the thought be just a thought. No confession needed. No argument needed. Let it pass like a train you don't board. You are allowed to rest, even with noise passing through. Lesson: you are not your thoughts. You are how you respond to them. Practice for 1 minute. Label each thought, thinking, and return to the feeling of your pillow supporting your head. Story 60 inches. A village. A man came to the Buddha feeling divided between ambition and peace. He wanted to succeed, but he also wanted to sleep. He felt like his life was a rope pulled tight from both ends. The Buddha guided him toward wise effort and simplicity, to do what is needed with care, then to stop when it is time to stop, like finishing the day's work and putting the tools away. If you keep carrying the tools into bed, your body never learns it's safe. The man's face softened, like he had been waiting for permission. He saw that rest is not laziness. It is maintenance. A rested mind makes better choices. Maybe you know this. Staying on all night. Planning tomorrow. Rewriting today. Scanning for mistakes. It wears you down. Even if you call it dedication. Tonight, put the tools down. Let the day be complete. Even if it wasn't perfect. Feel your hands empty, your shoulders heavy, your eyes warm and tired. You can work again later, but not right now. Lesson: the day ends when you let it end. Practice whisper. Tools down. Then exhale and imagine setting your whole to-do list on a shelf until morning. Banda Noi continue. Write stories 61 to 70 English. Each story is 17 to 20 lines long. Write without entries or notes to read aloud. ChatGPT, Da Noi, Da Suingi, Trong 24 seconds. Story 61. At Savatthi. The day was bright, but Visakha's face was dark with grief. Her young granddaughter had died, and the house felt suddenly hollow. Visakha walked to the Buddha with quick steps, like she couldn't stand still. She told him what happened, and the words came out tight and trembling. The Buddha received her with quiet steadiness. He guided her to look at a simple truth most hearts don't want to face. Everything and everyone we love is subject to parting, not because life is cruel, but because life keeps moving. He didn't ask her to stop loving. He helped her stop demanding that love come with guarantees. Visakha's breath slowed, and the grip in her chest loosened a little. She felt sorrow, and also a widening, like space around the sorrow. She could carry her love without fighting the facts of change. Maybe you know this. Missing someone. Missing a season of life that's gone. At night it can feel sharper, when the room is quiet. Tonight, let grief be real, and let your body still rest. Lesson: love is real, and so is change, and your heart can hold both. Practice. Place a hand on your heart and whisper, I loved, and it mattered. Then exhale and soften your shoulders. Story 62. At Jetavana, a monk came to the Buddha with confusion in his eyes. He had heard teachings and felt inspired, but his mind kept getting tangled. He said, I don't know how to hold these words without getting stuck. The Buddha guided him with a clear, earthy image. A snake is dangerous if you grab it the wrong way. You can get bitten, even if your intention was good. But if you hold it properly, it can be handled safely. In the same way, teachings can harm you if you cling to them for ego or twist them for arguments. They help when you hold them with care, aiming at peace and kindness. The monk's face softened, like someone finally setting down a sharp tool correctly. He stopped trying to win with the teaching. He began trying to live it, gently. Maybe you know this. Taking advice and turning it into pressure, or using should like a stick to hit yourself with at 2 a.m. Tonight, hold things more kindly, with less squeezing. Let what helps you help you, and let the rest go. Lesson: even good guidance must be held gently and wisely. Practice: choose one helpful idea, make it simple, and repeat it softly once. Be kind, then let your mind rest. Story 63 inches, a quiet grove. Some monks spoke to the Buddha about being insulted. They felt stirred up by harsh words and wanted a way to protect themselves. The Buddha listened. Steady as a stone in a stream, he guided them toward a patience that doesn't depend on people being nice. He gave a strong, memorable image. Even if someone were to treat you terribly, you train the mind not to return harm with harm, not because you're weak, but because you refuse to poison your own heart. Anger feels powerful for a second. Then it leaves you shaky and tired. Patience feels quiet, and then it gives you your life back. The monks grew still, humbled by the standard, and also relieved by it. They could protect their minds without striking back. They could keep dignity without heat. Maybe you know this. A sharp co-worker, a family comment, a stranger online. You replay it in bed, writing better comebacks in your head. Tonight, you can put the comeback down. Your peace is worth more than your perfect reply. Lesson: the strongest protection is a mind that won't be dragged into harm. Practice: relax your jaw, and on each exhale, think, I cool the fire. For 1 minute. Story 64 inches, a small home. An elderly man named Nakulapita lay sick and worried. His body felt weak, and his mind felt scared about what might come. He went to the Buddha, admitting he felt shaken by illness. The Buddha met him with warmth and realism. He helped him see that the body will have its troubles, sooner or later. Then, the teaching turned practical, like a hand placed on a shoulder. You can train the mind not to collapse on top of the body's pain. Body sick, mind not sick. As a direction to practice, Nakulapita's breathing eased. As if he'd been bracing for a long time, he felt less trapped. Even before the body improved, he could rest without making the sickness his whole identity. Maybe you know this. When stress shows up in the body, tight chest, tired head, heavy stomach, then the mind adds a second load. Worry, stories, dread. Tonight, try carrying only one load at a time. Let the body be as it is, and let the mind be gentle with it. Let the bed support you without asking questions. Lesson: the body may hurt, but you don't have to add extra suffering with the mind. Practice for 1 minute. Notice one sensation and quietly say, just this. Then let your shoulders soften. Story 65. At Jetavana, monks returned from the forest, looking tired and unsettled. They said the night felt frightening, full of strange sounds and uneasy feelings. They wanted to practice, but fear kept pulling them tight. The Buddha received them calmly, as if fear were simply weather passing through. He guided them toward a way of living with goodwill. not as a performance, but as a steady inner posture. A mind filled with kindness doesn't look for enemies in every shadow. It becomes a safe place, even in the dark. The monks took this guidance to heart and returned to the forest. They walked more gently, slept more easily, and the fear softened. The nights changed because their minds changed. Maybe you know this. Lying in bed, hearing a small noise, and the mind starts making a whole scary story. Or feeling alone and turning that into danger. Tonight, fill the room with a quiet friendliness. Toward yourself first, then outward. Let your face soften like a friendly smile. You don't have to show anyone. Lesson kindness makes the mind a safer home. Practice. Place a hand on your chest and silently wish, "May I be safe. May I be at ease." Then breathe out slowly. Story 66. One day, the Buddha spoke to monks about care and attention. He offered a simple story of two acrobats standing on a pole. One says, "I'll protect you, and you protect me." The other says, "No, I'll protect myself, and you protect yourself." The Buddha guided them to understand the heart of it. By guarding your own mind with awareness, you also protect others. And by acting with care toward others, you strengthen your own steadiness. It's not selfish, and it's not self-sacrifice. It's balance. Like keeping your footing, the monks felt the simplicity land in their bodies. They could stop trying to manage everyone else's mind first. They could begin with their own attention. Right here. Maybe you know this. Trying to keep your whole family okay. Your team okay. Your inbox okay. You end up stretched thin and irritable. Tonight, protect yourself gently by settling your mind. That is already a gift to the people you love. Lesson. When you steady your own mind, you steady the world around you. Practice for 1 minute. Feel your body in the bed and repeat softly, "Here, I settle." Then let your eyes grow heavy. Story 67. At Kosambi, a group of monks fell into a bitter argument. They clung to their opinions, and the mood turned sharp and proud. The Buddha tried to guide them toward harmony, but they wouldn't soften, so he stepped away, choosing peace over being pulled into their fight. Without his presence, the monastery felt colder. The monks began to feel the cost of their stubbornness. Their days became tense, their nights uneasy, their minds restless. In time, they saw what their conflict had done. They gathered, humbled, and chose reconciliation. They went to the Buddha and made amends. He received them when their hearts were ready, not before. They learned that harmony isn't just nice. It's necessary for a peaceful mind. Maybe you know this. Holding on to an argument because you want justice or control. But the price is your sleep, your body, your tenderness. Tonight, consider what you're paying. You can be firm and still let go of the fight inside you. Lesson peace returns when pride steps down. Practice. Think of one conflict and whisper, "I loosen my grip." Then exhale and relax your shoulders. Story 68 inches. A field outside a village. A farmer named Bharadvaja worked with his oxen. He saw the Buddha nearby and spoke with a challenging tone. He asked why a wandering teacher should receive food if he didn't work. The Buddha guided him with a simple, respectful comparison. There is a kind of work that happens inside, planting wise intention, pulling weeds of anger, tending patience. harvesting peace. A mind trained in harmlessness is not idle. It benefits the person, and it benefits the whole community. The farmer's face changed from sharp to thoughtful. He felt the sincerity, not as a debate, but as something true. His body relaxed, like he'd been bracing without noticing. He offered food with a different heart. Maybe you know this. Believing only visible work counts. Then you feel guilty when you rest, even when you need it. Tonight, remember that inner work is real work too. Rest can be part of a wise life, not a failure. Lesson A. Calmer heart is a real kind of productivity. Practice. Put a hand on your belly and say, "Rest is allowed." Then breathe out and soften your stomach. Story 69. At Jetavana, a man came to the Buddha with a mind caught in worry about mistakes. He said, "If I slip up, everything will fall apart." His shoulders were tight, like he had been holding up the ceiling. The Buddha guided him toward careful intention and steady action, but he also guided him away from perfectionism. A life is built from many choices, not one perfect day. You learn, you adjust, you begin again. The man's breath slowed as he realized how much fear had been driving him. He could be responsible without being rigid. He could aim for goodness without whipping himself. He left steadier, like someone walking at a normal pace again. Maybe you know this. The fear of messing up at work, the fear of disappointing family, the fear of falling behind. It can turn your nights into rehearsals for failure. Tonight, let your mind stop rehearsing. Let it recover. Tomorrow is helped by sleep, not by panic. Lesson: you don't need perfection to live well. You need steadiness. Practice for 1 minute. Repeat softly, "I can begin again," and feel your shoulders sink into the bed. Story 70 inches. The quiet of the monastery. A monk asked the Buddha about being pulled by praise and blame. He said, "When people approve of me, I feel high. And when they don't, I crash." It made his mind feel like a small boat on rough water. The Buddha guided him toward balance, a steadiness not owned by other people. Approval comes and goes. Criticism comes and goes. If you build your peace on either one, your peace won't last. The monk listened and felt something settle, like finding ground under the feet. He could still learn from feedback without becoming it. He could still enjoy praise without needing it like oxygen. His face softened, and his breath became smoother. Maybe you know this. Checking likes, replaying meetings, worrying about tone, feeling judged. It can keep you alert at night, like you're on stage even in bed. Tonight, step off the stage. Let your worth sit quietly inside you. Let the room be private again. Lesson A. Steady heart doesn't belong to the crowd. Practice. Place your hand on your chest and whisper, "I come home to myself." Then exhale and let your eyes rest. Banda Noi continue. Write stories 71 to 80 English. Each story is 17 to 20 lines long. Write without entries or notes to read aloud. ChatGPT Da Noi, Da Sui Ngi Trong, 31 seconds. Story 71, near Rajagaha. Word spread that a man with a skin disease had been listening to the Buddha. His name was Super Buddha, and his life had been hard and lonely. He stood at the edge of the crowd, used to being overlooked. That day, he listened closely, not asking for attention, just wanting some peace. The Buddha spoke in a way that met ordinary people where they were. He spoke of giving, of clean conduct, and of how the mind suffers when it clings. Supper Buddha's face softened, like a fist slowly opening. Something shifted in him, steady and quiet, not dramatic. He felt dignity return, like finding solid ground after years of slipping. He left the gathering calmer than he arrived. Not long after, his life ended suddenly, and people were shaken by how fast it happened. The Buddha guided them to see how uncertain life can be, not to frighten them, but to wake them gently. Maybe you know this feeling. Putting off rest, putting off kindness, thinking you'll get to it later. Tonight, let later stop bossing you around. Let the heart receive peace while it can. Lesson life is uncertain. So choose what's wholesome now. Practice. Place a hand on your chest and whisper, "Now is enough." Then exhale and let your shoulders melt down. Story 72. At Jetavana, the evening was calm, and the Sangha gathered quietly. Then a rumor arrived, sharp and ugly, like smoke pushed under a door. A woman had spread a false accusation about the Buddha, trying to harm his name. People whispered, some angry, some confused, some scared of what others would think. The Buddha remained steady, not defensive, not theatrical. He did not chase the rumor through the streets. He kept teaching with patience, as if truth had its own weight. In time, the lie unraveled, and the crowd saw what had been done. The loudness of gossip fell flat, like a drum with no skin. People felt embarrassed by how quickly they had been pulled. The Buddha guided them back to careful speech and careful listening. He pointed to how careless words can burn homes, friendships, and peace of mind. The mood softened, and the air felt clean again. Maybe you know this modern version. Group chats, office whispers, online heat. Your mind carries it to bed like a buzzing phone you can't turn off. Tonight, you can turn it off. Lesson, let truth be steady, and let rumors starve. Practice for 1 minute. Relax your jaw and repeat silently, "I don't have to carry this." Then let your eyes grow heavy. Story 73 inches the city. King Ajatasattu came to see the Buddha at night. He arrived with a guarded face and a heavy silence. He had power, wealth, and protection. Yet his mind would not rest. He sat down, and the room felt tense, like a held breath. He asked what good comes from a life of inner training. The Buddha responded with a clear path of benefits. Step by step, a life with restraint, honesty, and mindfulness brings a mind that isn't constantly under attack. A calmer mind isn't pulled so hard by craving and fear. The king listened, and you could almost see the armor loosen. Not all his pain vanished, but some of his frantic energy settled. He saw that peace is built, not bought. He left with a quieter face than when he arrived. Maybe you know this. Doing everything right on the outside, still feeling unsettled inside. You try to solve it with more control, more work, more proving. Tonight, try a different kind of power. The power of laying down your inner weapons. Lesson peace grows from how you live, not from what you own. Practice whisper, "I choose a clean mind." Then exhale slowly and feel your shoulders sink into the bed. Story 74. A rich young man named Yasa lived surrounded by comfort. One night, he woke and felt sick of the noise of pleasure and performance. The room that once felt exciting now felt like a trap. He left quietly and wandered until he found the Buddha at dawn. His voice came out thin, like he was finally admitting the truth. The Buddha met him with calm, without judging his past. He spoke in a way that helped Yasa see craving clearly and gently. Yasa's breathing slowed, like a stirred pond becoming still. His mind softened, and he felt relief he hadn't known how to ask for. Soon after, Yasa's father came searching, worried and confused. The Buddha spoke to the father too, guiding him toward generosity and a steadier life. A family that began in panic found a quieter direction. Maybe you know this feeling. Success that still leaves you empty at night. You reach the couch or the bed and think, is this all tonight? Let that question be honest without turning into despair. It can be the start of a simpler, kinder life. Lesson: when pleasure stops satisfying, the heart is ready for something truer. Practice: place your hand on your chest and ask softly, what do I really need? Then exhale and let the answer be quiet. Story 75 inches, a village grove. People gathered around the Buddha with competing opinions. Each person had a strong view, and the air felt crowded. They argued, certain their way was the only way. The Buddha listened, then offered a simple story. Several blind men touch an elephant, each feeling a different part. One feels the leg and says, it's a pillar. Another feels the tail and says, it's a rope. Another feels the ear and says, it's a fan. They fight, not realizing each has only a piece. The crowd grew quiet, like someone dimmed the lamps. They could feel their own stubbornness in their bodies. The Buddha guided them toward humility and careful listening. A mind that needs to be right becomes a small room with no windows. Maybe you know this. Politics at dinner, team debates at work, parenting disagreements. You go to bed, still arguing in your head. Tonight, you can loosen the need to be the winner. Lesson: your view may be partial, so hold it gently. Practice for 1 minute. Relax your forehead and silently repeat, maybe I don't see it all. Then let your breath smooth out. Story 76, near Savatthi. An old woman came to a gathering at dusk. She was poor, and she moved carefully through the crowd. Others brought bright offerings, and she carried only a small lamp. Her hands trembled as she set it down, but her intention was steady. The Buddha received her offering with the same calm respect he gave everyone. That simple recognition warmed her face more than the flame did. Later, people noticed how the night wind seemed to spare her little light. The story spread because it touched something human. Sincere effort matters, even when it looks small. No one is too ordinary to make a wholesome offering. Maybe you know this. Feeling like your effort doesn't count because it isn't impressive. At work, at home, in your own healing. You compare and shrink. Tonight, let small be honorable. A small kindness, a small apology, a small moment of rest. These are real offerings. Let your body receive your own gentleness. Lesson: what you give with a true heart is never too small. Practice: place a hand on your heart and think of one small good thing you did today. Then exhale and let your chest soften. Story 77. One evening, a householder came to the Buddha, worried about his money. He said the numbers kept him awake, even on nights when nothing had changed. He wanted security, but his mind kept reaching for more. The Buddha guided him toward a balanced way of living. Earn honestly. Care for your family. Save with wisdom. Share what you can. And don't let wealth become the measure of your worth. The man listened, and his shoulders dropped like a heavy coat coming off. He realized he had been feeding fear with constant grasping. He could take responsibility without turning his mind into a prison. He left with a steadier face. Not because life was guaranteed, but because his heart was clearer. Maybe you know this. Checking accounts. Worrying about bills. Replaying future costs. It can make your bed feel like an office chair. Tonight, let the bed be a bed again. You can plan tomorrow, but you can't plan it well without rest. Let your hands soften as if releasing a calculator. Lessen responsibility is good, but obsession steals your peace. Practice whisper. Not tonight. And for 1 minute, feel the weight of your body being held by the mattress. Story 78. At Jetavana, a monk came to the Buddha with a face full of self-criticism. He said, "I try so hard, and I still fall into the same habits." He spoke like a person who had been scolding himself for years. The Buddha guided him toward patient training instead of punishment. He pointed out that change comes through repeated, wholesome choices, and that harshness doesn't usually produce steadiness. It produces exhaustion. The monk felt his throat loosen, like he could finally breathe. He began to treat himself like a person worth guiding. He practiced again, calmer, less frantic, more consistent. Over time, the mind responded to that kindness. Maybe you know this. Perfectionism that keeps you tight. Control that keeps you awake. You think pressure will save you, but it often cracks you. Tonight, choose the tone that helps you heal. Firm, but gentle. Let your jaw relax like a door unlatching. Lesson change grows better in warmth than in punishment. Practice for 1 minute. Place a hand on your chest and repeat softly, steady and kind. Then let your shoulders sink down. Story 79 inches, a quiet gathering. King Pasenadi spoke with the Buddha about love. He mentioned how dear his queen was to him, how precious she felt. The Buddha guided him to look even closer at the heart. Each person holds their own life dear, near and deep. That's why harm lands so hard, and kindness lands so gently. When you truly understand this, you become less willing to use people, less willing to crush others for advantage. The king listened, and something sobered in him. Power felt less important than decency. He saw that a peaceful kingdom starts with a peaceful heart. Maybe you know this. Snapping at someone when you're stressed, then realizing they're just trying to get through life too. In bed, that regret can tap your shoulder. Tonight, let the heart remember what everyone wants. Safety, respect, a little ease. Let that soften you. Lesson: when you see others as dear to themselves, cruelty becomes harder. Practice. Think of one person you'll see soon, and silently wish, "May you be well." Then let your breath settle. Story 80. At Jetavana, a monk asked the Buddha how to deal with endless thinking. He said the mind kept building stories, especially at night. One thought became 5, and 5 became 50. The Buddha guided him to return to what is simple and immediate, to know seeing as seeing, hearing as hearing, feeling as feeling, not stacking an extra story on top, not turning every sensation into a problem to solve. The monk tried it, and the mind felt lighter, like setting down a packed bag. He could let a sound be just a sound. He could let a memory pass without climbing inside it. His body relaxed because the mind stopped grabbing everything. Maybe you know this. Lying in bed, replaying work, family tension, money worries, trying to fix the whole world at midnight. Tonight, let the mind be simpler than that. Let experience be plain, like a quiet room with one small lamp. Let your eyes grow heavy without needing an explanation. Lesson peace comes when you stop adding extra layers. Practice for 1 minute. Notice only one sensation, like the touch of the blanket. And each time a story starts, return to that touch. Bandanoi. You are a professional Zen sleep storyteller, finishing a 1-hour Buddhist meditation video titled Life-Changing Buddhist Teachings, Zen Stories for Stress Relief and Peaceful Sleep. Write the closing section, 700.900 words, that softly concludes the journey and guides the listener into deep rest and peace. Tone and style, American English. Calm, intimate, poetic. Maintain the same meditative voice as the previous body parts. Slow, warm, compassionate. Speak as if whispering to one person who's drifting between wakefulness and sleep. Avoid analysis or teaching. Express understanding through imagery, breath, and silence. Narrative flow. Reflect briefly on the main lesson of the video from Life-Changing Buddhist Teachings, Zen Stories for Stress Relief and Peaceful Sleep, but indirectly prefers through metaphor or emotion, not explanation. Revisit the natural imagery used throughout river, ocean, candle, moonlight, sky, breath. Guide the listener to release all thoughts, tension, and effort, returning to stillness. Slow the rhythm gradually, longer pauses, softer sentences. End with silence, a final line that feels like an exhale. Creative guidance. Let the words feel like a gentle lullaby full of spaciousness and gratitude. Bring closure emotionally, not logically. The listener should feel complete, safe, and weightless. End with a feeling of unity between the listener, the universe, and the present moment. Technical parameters. Section length, 800 words. Voice, soft, slow, and soothing, 110, 120 words. Min output, English voiceover script, formatted in short paragraphs with natural pauses. Goal: deliver an emotionally fulfilling ending that embodies Buddhist wisdom and helps the listener drift into peaceful, healing sleep. ChatGPT Danoi, you've done enough for tonight. You've listened. You've carried your attention back again and again, even when it wandered. That is not small. That is a quiet kind of bravery. The kind no one applauds. The kind that changes a life in soft ways. Now the stories can loosen their hold, like a book that closes gently, without a snap, like a lamp turned down, not to darkness, but to comfort. If any scene is still glowing in your mind, let it glow. You don't have to chase it. You don't have to solve it. Just let it be a small candle on the far side of the room. Warm, steady, and not asking anything from you. And if nothing is staying, if it's all fading already, that's perfect too. That's the natural way, like footprints near the shore, slowly smoothed by water, like breath on a window, appearing, disappearing, like moonlight moving across the floor as the night deepens. Somewhere inside you, A river has been flowing this whole time, even when you were tired, even when your thoughts were loud, even when the day felt too heavy. The river kept moving, quietly, patiently, never needing your permission. You can let yourself float now, not with effort, not with planning, just with the simple trust of being held. Feel the bed beneath you. Let it take the weight you've been holding up all day. Let it carry your shoulders. Let it carry your hips. Let it carry your legs, as if the earth itself has opened its hands and said, "It's all right. I've got you." Your face can soften. Your forehead can smooth. Your jaw can unclench. Just a little more. Your tongue can rest, heavy and quiet. Your hands can lie open, as if they've stopped gripping the world. Your belly can rise and fall without being watched. Your breath can be like a slow tide, coming in, going out, coming in, going out. If thoughts arrive, let them arrive. If they drift away, let them drift away. You don't need to do anything with them. They can be clouds crossing a wide sky. The sky does not chase them. The sky does not argue with them. The sky simply stays open, and you can stay open. 2. Open enough for this moment. Open enough for sleep. Tonight. You don't have to hold every worry. Work can wait. The inbox can wait. The unfinished things can wait. Even the questions can wait. They can sit quietly by the door, like shoes you'll put on later. For now, you are barefoot on cool ground. For now, you are home. Let your chest feel a little softer, not forcing anything, just allowing, as if you're loosening a tight knot in a ribbon, as if you're setting down a bag you carried so long you forgot it was there. You've been trying hard, in ways that nobody sees, in ways you might not even name, trying to keep things together, trying to do the right thing, trying to be steady for others, trying to stay ahead of what might go wrong, trying to make the world feel safe. And maybe, just for tonight, you can stop trying, not because you're giving up, because you're finally letting yourself be carried, like a small boat on calm water, like a leaf resting on the surface of a pond, like a candle held in still air, somewhere outside this room. The world is turning, the ocean is moving, the rivers are running, the moon is doing its slow work. No one is forcing it, no one is hurrying it. It just happens. Quietly, faithfully, and you are part of that. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to prove it. You belong to the night, the way the tide belongs to the shore. So let your breathing be ordinary. Let your body be ordinary. Let your mind be ordinary. Ordinary is safe. Ordinary is enough. Ordinary is where rest begins. If you notice a last little tightness in the neck, in the shoulders, in the belly, you can soften around it, not pushing it away, not fixing it, just making room, like giving a tired guest a chair and a glass of water, and letting them sit quietly. No questions, no lecture, just kindness. And if your heart is still carrying something tender, something you didn't say out loud today, it can rest here too. In the dark, things don't need to be performed. In the dark, you don't need to be impressive. In the dark, you are simply human, and that is plenty. The stories were never meant to be another task. They were meant to be a hand on your shoulder, a small light by the path, a reminder that the mind can soften, that the heart can unclench, that you can set things down and still be you. Now, let the river keep flowing without your help. Let the ocean breathe without your effort. Let the candle burn low, safe and steady. Let the sky stay wide. Let the moonlight wash the edges of your thoughts until they blur and fade. Nothing to do, nowhere to go, no one to become. Just this, just the gentle rise and the gentle fall. And as you drift, you can trust the quiet. You can trust the bed. You can trust the night. You can trust that rest is not something you have to chase. It's something you allow, like opening your hand, like releasing a breath, like sinking into warm water. May you be held. May you be safe. May you be at ease. May sleep come the way it comes to a calm lake, without effort, without hurry. May it cover you like a soft blanket. May it take you gently. And now, one more soft exhale, and nothing else.